Tonight, let me say that we are, I think, quite lucky, and I'm personally thrilled to introduce Mike Dahlhofer, K8MRD, a southeastern Michigan ham who, aside from leading me astray at every possible QRP rig that comes on the market, is a huge aficionado and proponent of Parks on the Air. And he's part of the what they call the YouTubers Ham Bunch, and they put out just, I think, some of the finest content for ham radio operators. Mike is big not only on Parks on the Air, but reviews and how-tos on many products. So check out his YouTube channel. But without further ado, then, please let me have us all welcome Mike Dahlhofer.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Mike, call sign K8MRD. Fairly new to the hobby. I was licensed in 2016, which seems like forever ago, but I have since upgraded to extra class operator, and just over the summer, I have now gotten my VE credentials with the ARRL, and I'm also signed up with the Greater Los Angeles Amateur Radio Club group, GLARG, whatever that is. Haven't done a single session yet, though. I'm so busy. But I can't wait to actually start getting in on it. And as Mike said there, I'm one of those YouTube guys. I have the real creative name of K8MRD Radio Stuff. So, and I do reviews and how-tos, and like I just did a how to build a 2-meter Slim Jim roll-up antenna last night that I released, and that's doing real well. So yeah, I'm very much an antenna aficionado. They have just amazed me ever since I made my first roll-up J-pole 4 years ago. So I've gotten into dipoles and fan dipoles, and today we're going to talk about Parks on the Air, or POTA as we call it. So let's see, what is this? So we're going to go over how to get started in Parks on the Air. We're going to talk about some common radios that are going to be used, what types of antennas, different types of batteries, talking about chemistry there. A little bit on logging software and how to submit your logs to the Parks on the Air program. So first off, why do we POTA? One, just for me, I absolutely love being outside. Michigan doesn't see much nice weather. We really have about 3 months of sun, and then it's gray and gloomy and miserable and depressing the other 9 months of the year, like it is right now. But we get a chance to enjoy our state and national parks. Parks on the Air is a state and national park program, so it's not just go down the street to your city park and activate it. It's a little more bigger than that. So we get to be the station that everyone wants to work. We are the DX. So if you like working DX and you like getting through that pile up, imagine being on the receiving end of that pile up. It is an absolute blast. We practice our emergency communications. If the grid goes down or power failures, we practice setting up our stations, setting up antennas. It's usually pretty quick, but it just kind of builds that muscle memory. And really the biggest thing is to just have fun. I like having fun. So there's 2 different ways you can participate. You can be an activator, which would be those people who actually go out to the parks and get on the air and call CQ Parks on the Air. Or you can hunt, where you would be home and you are actively searching and trying to work those contacts. So, and there's awards and there's all kinds of statistics that they track on this. So here is the parksontheair.com website when you first go into it. So to get started, you need to create an account, which is very easy, but just parksontheair.com. So you want to go to the dashboard login screen here, and that's going to bring you to this where you can sign in with, I didn't even know signing in with Amazon was a thing, but apparently you can do that, or Google or Facebook, or you can do the traditional email and make a password and sign in. So create an account, very simple, just an email and a password. Then we can click the login at the top and actually log in to the Parks on the Air, where it kind of opens it up a little bit more. And it's very much so. Parks on the Air is not a contest. It is everything is tracked though, so you can look at all these stats and you can kind of tweak them to how you want to view them. Yes, there are top activators and things, but there's not like a trophy for, hey, you made 1 million contacts this year more than anyone else. It's not that kind of thing. It's fun. It's really all it is. So now once we're logged in, you can see here at the top right, my call sign K8MRD is there. And it's kind of weird that they put this here. I'm not a huge fan of the Parks on the Air website. I am friends with a couple of people who manage this, and they know my feelings on it. It's pretty much terrible. Well, it's not terrible, but it could use a lot of work. But where you submit your logs is under your call sign. You would think that it would just be, hey, submit my log here, but it's actually pretty easy. Whatever your call sign is. So I'm an 8 call, so I would submit it to K8 at Parks on the Air. If you're a 6 call, it would be K6 at Parks on the Air. Now that's regardless of where you work. So if I'm an 8 call and I live in California, I would still submit it to K8 at Parks on the Air. So I get that question quite a bit, but that's where you would actually find where you can log, but it's just an email. So once it's in your email, you kind of don't really need to do that anymore. So here's a look at some of the statistics that they track. And I took these slides a couple months ago, but you can, and this is just a snippet. I'm going to show you a few, but there's many, many, many different things that it tracks. But the top statistic here is my personal best. So on 9/27 at Proud Lake Rec Area, that's a park I go to a lot, I made 290 contacts. I was out there for about 3.5, 4 hours. And I actually got my Kilo award for that, which is 1,000 contacts at one park entity. So that was pretty cool. And you can email them and they'll send you like an award you can print out and stuff if you want. You can see which days had the most QSOs, which day has the most activities. So an activity, so you can see there's 2 days that have 3 activities. So that's basically, I went to 3 different parks in one day and activated all 3 of those parks. You need a total of 10 contacts to officially activate a park. So it's not like you have to be out there for hours, although sometimes you can be calling CQ for a while if the bands aren't doing too good. But they make it easy and fun. So you don't have to sit out there and make, like, Worldwide Flora and Fauna. I think you have to make 44 contacts, and you have to be in the park for a minimum of 2 hours. So even if you make 44 contacts in 45 minutes, you still got to sit around for another hour and 15 minutes. It's kind of weird. So here we can see my hunter QSOs. So when I'm sitting at home in the shack and I go to POTA.us, they have their own spotting page. So you don't have to necessarily look at like the spotting page on QRZ, or like DX Summit is another one that I use. Parks on the Air has their own spotting page. I'll show you that in a second, but you can see on like 20 meters, I've got 85 hunted contacts, 218 on 40 meters. And then if you look at the next thing down, activator QSOs by band, I'm primarily a 20 and 40 guy. So 628 contacts on 20 meters, 1764 on 40 meters. Apparently I've made 48 contacts on 80 meters. I wonder if that was with a club activation, probably, because I do not have an 80 meter antenna, but yeah, my club is very active in Parks on the Air too. So, and here you can see the parks with activities. These are the parks that I personally have activated. And then it'll show you like how many times you've activated. So actually Dodge State Park was one of the parks that I went to first when I first got into Parks on the Air, because it's right down the street from my house. But it turns out that Proud Lake State Recreation Area is about the same distance, just in the other direction. So I go to both of those parks quite a bit. And then the others are a bit farther away from me. But so I kind of go to the same two a lot. But there's literally thousands of Parks on the Air entities in the program. and there's a map to show all that. So these are the hunted locations. So there's 45 hunted locations, which are states, I guess. So I've almost got my worked all states just from hunting parks on the air activators, which is pretty sweet. And then hunted parks, I've worked 261. So that's me hunting 261 unique parks that I've worked someone at while they were doing an activation, and I'm sitting home in the comfort of my easy chair here. So just very much statistics. So, all right. So find a park near you. So back on this main kind of home page for the parksontheair.com, when you click the find parks and then you click on near me, it's going to bring you to a map. Now, this is one of my biggest gripes with the Parks on the Air guys. The map pretty much just puts you in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And it doesn't really know where you are. So you kind of have to fiddle with it and zoom in. But you can see all these yellow blips are parks around me. So I'm kind of in this area. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but I'm a suburb of Detroit, just northwest of Detroit. And there's all kinds of parks around me. So very, very easy to get. I mean, if you zoomed out on this map, it's just, I mean, it's littered with parks that you can act. So here's the spotting page. Now you can advertise your activation before you go out. So people who, and if you go out a lot, like there are parks on the air is so huge now. Like it's literally worldwide now. You'll see Japan stations spotted here. You'll see England, you'll see New Zealand. There's a lot of countries. I don't know how many, but there's a lot of countries that are in parks on the air now. So that is just absolutely fantastic. But so when you get out and when you keep doing it, you'll get people who are like, they're your chasers. You'll recognize them every time you go out. You'll hear the same guys, and they're actively hunting you. So you can post your activation ahead of time on the spotting page and say, hey, it's K8MRD. I'll be out whatever date tomorrow is, the 9th, 12 o'clock Eastern. I think they use Zulu time. So that'd be like 5 o'clock here, Zulu or whatever. And you can say, I might be on 20, 40, whatever, like this KC1 DBR. He's going to be at Park K2659, which is Lake Francis State Park in New Hampshire. And he'll be on 20 and 40 between 0 and 10. Oh, what is he saying? July 4th through July 10th. So he's camping out there basically at a park for the week, it looks like. So this is at the bottom of the spotting page. So you can see, oh, maybe this guy, if there's people you're trying to hunt, like KB3WAV is a lady she lives in Maryland, and she is on, I have an app called Ham Alert where you can enter people's call signs in, and when they get spotted, it'll give you an alert. And she just blows up my my phone all the time. So, but it's neat. You can chase these people, and I can typically hear her because I'm in Detroit. She's usually in Maryland or Virginia or, Pennsylvania, one of kind of the surrounding states around her. But I don't think she sleeps. She's just constantly POTAing. So it's neat to chase people and get them in the log a bunch of times. So post your activation, and then POTA spotting is a little bit different. So here I'm going to go back to the advertise. These are just people who are posting. So now when we go to this next slide here, you can see these are active spots. And this is, you can get to this just by going to POTA.us, POTA.us. So you can see November 0 Foxtrot Golf was spotted by himself. You can self-spot totally fine. And he's on 14230 KU8T. He's another one of those guys that's always out there. And when UI is out there, he's actually not too far from me. I've seen him quite a bit. So this is where you can see who is currently out there at any given time. So this is what I do a lot in the winter because I do not enjoy the cold at all. So my POTA pretty much comes grinding to a halt this time of year. But I still like to get on the air, and I like to go to POTA.us and see if I can hear anybody and work them and support them and that kind of thing. So you can self-spot, others can spot you, you can respot. Once you're on this spotting page, though, be prepared for a pileup. Like I said, POTA is huge now. When I first started in Parks on the Air a couple of years ago, it was still kind of in its infancy. It was birthed from the National Parks on the Air program that the ARRL did, but they never really did anything else with it. So a couple guys, actually, what's his name? There was a guy that got with the ARRL, I think, and was like, hey, can we, kind of steal your idea and make it a thing? And that's kind of how it came to fruition. And now there's, like I said, it's worldwide. So, but yeah, you just respot. I think this next slide actually shows how to do it. So at the top where it says spots, I think is where you actually, if you want to spot yourself or someone else, it'll bring up this window and you can type in either your call sign if you're out there, or who you worked. You would be, if you're spotting someone, you would be the spotter call sign, the frequency, their park reference, comments. I'll usually just put like signal report, they're 5'9" into Michigan, whatever. That's pretty easy. Click add spot. Oh yeah, the one that says add spot. But very, very easy. So here's some of the awards. These are a little bit older, but if you go on the website and look under the awards, there are so many awards. They kind of just do it to be goofy, honestly, because they can. And some of the names of these things are pretty funny. So like this Oasis Award, I think this was one of the first ones that I got for being an activator. And this is what's called a repeat offender award. And I just love that name. So that's why I kept going back to Dodge State Park so many times. And I want to get this for Proud Lake as well. But it's submitted proof of having at least 10 QSOs from the same park more than 20 times. So I went to Dodge State Park. We saw earlier, I think 23 times. And I wanted this repeat offender award. I just love the name. Another award I have is a platinum certificate, which means I have submitted proof of working 40 unique reference areas in the Parks on the Air program. This is as a hunter. Obviously, I'm way past that now. I have like 200 and something, but just neat little things to have. I have a couple of these plaques on my wall, some of the more like first achievement type things. I don't actually have my Kilo award for getting 1,000 contacts. It's just kind of personal goals, So, but it's just, again, it's all about having fun. And both activators and hunters can get awards. So, and the neat thing about it is hunters do not need to submit a log at all. All you got to do is work them. The onus is entirely on the person who activated the park. When you submit your log, if your call sign is in the Parks on the Air database, you'll automatically be logged in there. Now, if there's a discrepancy, you worked a guy and you don't see him, you don't see that park on your database, shoot the guy an email and you can see if you can get that squared away, and you can resubmit your his log. So types of radios. There's kind of two types of people, I suppose, in radio. There's the QRP guys and the QRO guys. I'm a little bit of both. I do enjoy QRP. I find it's actually pretty easy to activate a part QRP. A little bit different than maybe trying to work through the pileup. I find that if you're the one calling CQ, having 5 or 10 watts is generally enough because everyone's trying to work me. So versus 100 watts, which I do typically operate QRO more often than not, because I really want my signal to get out there. I want everyone to have a chance to hear me. And I quite honestly, selfishly just want to work as many people as possible. So I do tend to go QRO more often. But so some of the QRP radios that folks use that you'll see out there, obviously the tried and true, the ASU FT817. That's a really neat radio. I've never used one, but I've held one. Obviously the ICOM 705 that just came out. Maybe one of these days I'll get those. The Zygoos, the X5105 and the G90. The G90 is incredibly popular. And then the Elecraft KX2 or KX3. Those are fantastic radios. Some of the QRO radios you'll see, not so much the 7300. I've taken mine out portable a couple times. It's small enough that you can do that. I don't personally prefer taking my 7300 out. I use an 891 99% of the time when I go out. Just the 7300 is a bit more, it's not made for portable. I mean, that's not its main purpose in life. I'm not the most careful person in the world by design. So the 891 is definitely a bit more rugged. It can take a beating, and I don't really worry about it as much. You'll see some guys with the 857. That's kind of another one of those tried and true radios, as well as the ICOM 706 Mark II-G, although a bit older. Really, I think a lot of guys are on the 891 bandwagon. Different types of antennas. I've used all of these except for the alpha antenna. That was a guy at field day, but the Wolf River Coils antenna was the first antenna that I actually bought. Before that, I was using I just made a speaker wire dipole for 20 meters, and that's what I used portable for the first few times that I went out. But the Wolf River Coils is a great, inexpensive, kind of like get you into portable type antenna, and it works fantastic. You can operate from your car. So the only real rules is you just have to be inside the park, and you can't make contacts that count anyway on a repeater. Satellites do count though. Satellite repeaters are a totally different ball game. So now if you want to go on the repeater and say, hey guys, I'm out here at the park, can anyone, try and catch me? That's fine. Then you can switch to like 5.2 simplex or something and then count those QSOs. So, which is really no different than spotting, honestly. And then the DX Commander, that is my DX Commander Expedition antenna. I absolutely love that antenna. And then the Alpha antenna, I can't remember the model of this thing, but it is a really neat antenna. I think it's 160/6, no tuner, just a counterpoise, and however long that whip is. It's one of those folding military style with like the elastic in the middle of it. But that's a really neat antenna that we used. One of the guys, actually, in the Tar Heel picture, that tent is a guy named Lewis, and that's his antenna. You can kind of see it back there. So that was one of the antennas he was using for field day this summer. Then we have some wire antennas. The Pactena Link dipole I'm a huge dipole fan, but I have found that I really don't use dipoles as much portable now as I used to, just because they're kind of harder to set up. So I actually got the Link dipole first. Then I got the Pactena Mini 9-to-1, which is a fantastic antenna. I love it, but that needs a tuner. And then I just recently got the Pactena NFED half wave, and that's kind of one of my top two favorite portable antennas that I own now, the other being the DX Commander. So the DX Commander and the Pactena for me are... and then there's the Soda Beams band hopper. That's another really popular antenna that I had. I don't own one of those. I have used one. I was doing an activation on Lake Michigan over the summer with a couple other guys. We went up on the sand dunes and we set up that antenna, and it worked terrific. We were doing, I was doing QRO with it with my 891. One of the other guys had a KX3, and I got a chance to play with his Elecraft and drool over it. Another guy in the club has one of those band hoppers. Actually, I know quite a few people that have that, and it's a really nice antenna. It's a little bigger in terms of its form size. Like these Pactenas are tiny, where the band hopper has those three wire winders. But it's a really nice design. I really do like that. One of these days, I'll probably pick one up. It's amazing the things you get into because of ham radio, and batteries is one of those things. I'm really a big antenna nerd and a big battery nerd. I don't geek out so much on the actual radios themselves nearly as much as I do on batteries and antennas. So there's two main types of chemistries that you'll see people dealing with. One is the traditional sealed lead acid battery, like an AGM absorbent glass mat or lithium iron phosphate. And they both have their features and benefits and their downfalls. So the sealed lead acid, here's an example of one. This is a 9 amp hour AGM battery. They're inexpensive. This was actually the first battery that I bought, and I think it might have been $35 for a 9 amp hour. They're inexpensive. They're easily sourced. You can go down to, I don't know if you guys have Batteries Plus out there, but there's battery stores that you can buy them at. You probably get one at Walmart or something like that. So they're all over the place. They're good for QRP. I really wouldn't pull much out of them because they're not really designed for high amp draw. They have a huge voltage sag when you start pulling current out of them. You get about 200 to 300 charge cycles out of them before they're pretty much useless. So those are kind of some of the features, I guess you could say. A couple of the cons, they're pretty heavy. They're lead acid, so there's a bunch of lead in it, and acid. So, if they break open, they're not very safe. Here's my thing with these types of batteries. They're only half the rated capacity. So this is a 9 amp hour battery. You're only going to get 4.5 amp hours out of it before you get below about 12 volts. And Once you start going below that, you're going to start doing permanent damage to the cells. So they're pretty easy to destroy, and they're not great for QRO. But I did use this with my 891 for the first couple activations. But QRP, actually, there was a guy named Tony at the time. He was K8MRD, who did some YouTube videos a few years ago, and he would use a lead acid battery with his 817. And that's really what inspired me to get out there. So I was doing QRP the first few times that I was doing portable. But then I was like, this isn't doing it for me. So, and then it does not like deep cycling. So yes, you can get a deep cycle battery, like a marine deep cycle or something like that, and you'll get more of the full capacity out of it. But you're talking a lot of weight. And when you're already carrying your gear portable, do you really want a big piece of lead weighing you down? I don't, personally. You'll see a lot of guys using these lithium iron phosphate batteries. This is really what, if you guys know Julian OH8STN has a channel called Survival Tech Nord, and that bottom battery that kind of looks like a bomb, he's got a lot of great videos showing how to build these, and that was actually my first lithium iron phosphate battery that I built. I bought some cells off the internet from China and put it all together, and that's a 10 amp hour battery, and it's fantastic. So the benefits of lithium iron phosphate, they're lightweight. They're easily half the weight of a lead acid battery, and the rate you're usually going to pull 90 to 100% of the capacity. So when I built my 10 amp hour battery, I discharged it at a rate of 1 amp hour, and I actually got about 10.5 amp hours out of it before the battery management system, that circuit board on it, cut the voltage off. So they're awesome batteries. Depending on the depth of discharge that you go, you'll get 2,000 to 3,000 charge cycles out of that, which in time is about 10 years ish, if not more, that you'll be using these same batteries. You can use them for QRP or QRO. I've got a few just tiny little 3 amp hour BioNO batteries that I use for my QRP rigs, and they're great. But you can pull a decent amount of current out of these things. Usually the limiting factor in how much current you can pull out of these isn't the actual cells, it's the circuit board that is inside of it, the BMS, or battery management system, which is that chip. On mine, the one that I built, I put a 30 amp BMS on it. You can actually pull 100 amps out of those cells. No problem. They'll take it like nothing. They're very, very safe chemistry. I've seen videos where people are trying to do everything they can to make these batteries blow up, catch on fire, whatever you can do. They're not like lithium polymer batteries, like the batteries that are on our cell phones. They can puff up. If they hit air, they explode violently. This is not like that. These are very, very, very safe batteries to use. Of course, the disadvantage, you pay for what you get. They are definitely more expensive. So that BioNO 20 amp hour battery, I think those go for about $200, and they're not as easily sourced. That's really more for outside the USA. You guys are in California. BioNO is a California company. They're right around Disneyland, wherever that is. But I get a lot of people. I've done a few videos on these batteries, and some people like in England, Europe or New Zealand or Australia will email me and they'll be like, how in the heck can I get these batteries? And it's just the shipping on them overseas is astronomical. So you'd basically pay the same as the cost of the battery to ship it over there, which is insane. And I think it's just because it's a battery that it costs that much. There's rules on shipping batteries. It's weird. And then logging. So it doesn't matter how you log, so long as you log. Some choose to use paper, but you have to still upload that to a computer somehow and submit it into an ADIF file. So, some people would prefer just to write it out on paper and then transpose it into their computer. That's fine. The only downside is that it's going to be more time to do that. So I'm not one that enjoys working twice. So I use a computer. I'll typically use either my main logging device is my iPad mini or my iPhone, depending on what I'm doing. And I use an app called Hamlog. And that's what we're looking at right now. It's super easy to use. You can set it up if you pay for a QRZ subscription, or you can sign up for Ham QTH. And I personally like using logging software, aside from the fact that I can just email the ADIF to myself and then make any adjustments and then off to the POTA guys. It pulls up their information. So when someone throws their call sign out, I type in their call sign here, and then I hit look up, and I know who I'm working. So I have a name with a call sign, and it's just, I don't know, to me, it just makes it a little more personalized. Plus, I like to see where I'm getting out. Just because you have a 5 call sign doesn't necessarily mean you're in Texas or Louisiana or something. You could be in Alaska, who knows? It also autofills the time and date, which is something, if I am logging by paper, I am absolutely horrible at logging the time and date. Well, the date part I know, but the time is really more a thing. Not that time doesn't really matter in terms of logging. They don't really, all they really care about is the call sign, the date, the band, and the mode. That's really all that matters. So the Hamlog app is available for both iOS and Android. You can upload it directly to your computer, the log, I mean, when I say that. It's just much easier, in my opinion. Let's see. So here's a shot of what it looks like from the Hamlog app. So there's, let me go back here. At the bottom right of this, where it says tools, you touch that, and then that brings you to a whole list of different options. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's an export button that you click, and you can email the ADIF. Depending on how many activations I have, if I only have one, I'll just hit email ADIF all, or I might choose to select ADIF date range. So I'll only get the date that, so like here I did Kilo 3324 on July 6th. So I can select that date, and you can email it directly to K8@parksontheair.com. I actually email it to myself, and I put it in the logging software that I use on my computer, which I'll show you here in a second. But just a couple things. Be sure to include the date and the park number in your email. Also, and I've never had this until the guy that actually loads my log sheets into the database changed, because they're just volunteers. So one guy didn't care. I labeled my file as the park name and the date, but this other guy also wanted me to put my call sign when I'm actually naming the file, just because they get so many files. To have the call sign in there is easy for them to kind of see, and however they organize it, I have no idea. They are working on, which I'm really super excited about, they're working on having it so you can upload your logs yourself, which I can't wait for that feature. My guys have always been very, very quick at responding to letting me know they've uploaded. I've heard other guys say it's taken a few days, but you just have to understand that everyone is just doing this voluntarily. So, they might have other things that they're doing at the moment and not in front of their computer to upload your logs. So just be patient with them. So here's the computer logger that I use. Now I have a Mac, and there's not a lot of software for Macs. There's a few. There's Mac Logger DX. There's another one called Rumlog NG. And there's this one called Aether. And this one's about $35 for the full version, which I think is fair for what you get. I actually really, really like this software. It's got rig control. So down where it says frequency and there's no frequency, if my radio was plugged into it, it would automatically pull what frequency. So when I log the QSOs, it'll automatically have that there, which is nice. And you can just export your ADIF directly out of here. I can click a button right here that says sync online QSLs at the top. It'll automatically upload it to Logbook of the World. It might upload to QRZ. I upload everything to Logbook of the World, and then a couple times a year I'll download from Logbook of the World to QRZ. But this is a really nice software for a Mac. Windows, I really don't know what's out there. Let's see. Oh, that's the end of it. So I guess this is the questions portion. So, and then we're back.
So first question, I'm curious about the Hamlog when I have an Android phone.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go to Android, I see a half a dozen Hamlog apps.
It's by Pignology is the developer.
Oh, the Pignology?
Yep.
Okay, good enough. That's the first one up.
Yeah, fantastic app. I think it's like It was like $1, I think, on iOS. It might be free on Android. It might have been $3. I don't remember, but it's where I love it. I mean, most of the guys that I know that are doing portable, that's the app that they're using. Whether you're doing summits on the air, parks on the air, that's what we use.
Yeah, 99 cents. Good move. Thanks.
Yep.
Is there an app for your phone for spotting yourself? Like you're out in the park?
POTA does not have an app, no, but you would just go to POTA.us on your browser and just spot yourself that way.
On your phone, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're
Yep. Just go to. So I use Safari. You might use Chrome or whatever it is for Google if you're on an Android. But yeah, you just go to POTA.us in a web browser, and you would do it that way. There isn't a way to spot in the Hamlog app if that's what you're getting at.
No, I was just wondering if there was a standalone. Like I was using some other, I can't remember what it was for national parks on the air, and it was a worldwide one, and it worked really well. But
so yes, you could use any spotting software you want, I suppose, and I have, but that won't show up on the Parks on the Air's spotting page. So that's kind of like the main spotting page for Parks on the Air, but you will see people like I use the QRZ DX cluster a lot to see who's out there. And you'll occasionally see POTA spots on there, but really to see everyone, that's kind of the main place to go if you want to see specifically Parks on the Air spots is POTA.us. POTA.us.
Yeah, the one I was using was DX Summit.
Yeah, I think I have. My phone's not in here, but I think I do have that on my phone, and I have used that to spot, and that will spot you on the cluster, but that will not go to the Parks on the Air website and show up there. So,
right.
Go ahead.
N6IET here. I also am a Mac and iPhone user, and I've got 73 Hamlog.
Mm-hmm.
When I tried exporting my POTA, I've done one POTA, tried exporting it to the guy that takes the logs, and he said it was missing band information. It had frequency, but not band. And that doesn't seem to be available on that. So how I guess you have to manually convert it using your computer's logbook or something?
Care about the frequency at all. They care about the band. Let me see here. What do I do? So I don't directly email it from Hamlog myself, which that's why I like to upload it into my software.
It's under create a log. So if you click on tools and then create a log.
Yeah, there you are.
So I can customize it then.
Yes. People have mentioned it to me before. Oh, yeah. So you can just make it however you want. I think I messed around with this, but I didn't really like the interface of it. I didn't put a lot of time into it because the way I do it works for me. Because I always want to upload the log. My methodology is I have my ADIF, I email it to myself, I open it in my logging software, and then I just double check everything and make sure that the mode and the band and all that stuff are correct. Because I want to make it as easy as possible for the volunteer that's going to upload this into the database for me. So that's why I do it that way. Because there's probably a mistake I made somewhere. It's typical. So, but yeah, I suppose you could customize it that way. But we'll expect a full report the next time you do that, and let us know how that worked. We'll make you do the legwork on that.
I have a story. I met a friend on a Simplex VHF named Ryan N6INS who has discovered POTA activating. And he's only been a ham for like a year and a half or something.
That's great.
And he goes out and he makes 60 to 90 contacts in a couple or 3 hours. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
On single sideband.
You can make them a lot faster than that too if you're really going at it. So yeah, it's crazy. I'm telling you, when you're spotted, especially on a weekend, be prepared to have a ginormous pileup. It is a lot of fun.
And he activates the same park over and over a lot of times. I guess that's fine.
Oh yeah. There's so few rules in Parks on the Air like I said, they just want to make it fun. It's get out there, play radio, enjoy our state and national parks. That's it. That's the bottom line. You just can't make contacts on repeaters and have those count. That's the only stipulation, really. And you have to be within the park boundaries. Other than that, you can be in your car, you can be in a picnic bench, you can do whatever you want. You can mobile antenna, whatever.
If I may, I'd like to comment on the Alpha Full Metal Jacket, which I think is the antenna you referred to.
Yes, that is it.
I bought one. I don't know why I did it, because I knew it didn't work. Now,
really?
There was a guy in our club that went to Italy, and he took that with him, and he made all kinds of contacts. But I analyzed it, and even without anything connected to that cylinder, it has a maximum of 4-to-1 SWR from like 1 megahertz to 30 megahertz. That means it's partially a dummy load, you know, and you're not supposed to know what's inside of it. But I can't believe that anybody makes contacts with it.
Yeah, Lewis, the guy that owns the one in the pictures, loves the antenna. He swears by it. So for me, that antenna, I mean, it is super solid quality built, but it's big and heavy. It's the exact opposite of what I would want as a pretty active portable operator. I am very much, I hardly ever get on the air and call CQ at home. But when I go portable, man, it's gangbusters. And I want it to be easy and not have to carry a bunch of weight. So, which is always a challenge, because there's always some new toy that I want to bring out and play with. But
which antenna are you using again?
Gosh, I have a whole bunch of antennas, but my two main primary antennas that I prefer to use are the DX Commander Expedition, or the Pactenna NFED half wave.
Yeah.
The Pactenna, all of the Pactenna antennas are fantastic, but the NFED, I just got that over the summer when he came out with a new batch of them, and I put a 40 meter element, because it comes kind of ready for 20 meters, enough wire for 20 meters. So I added another length of wire that I have here, some 26 gauge poly stealth wire from Davis RF. And I added another length to make it a 40 meter. So now it's 40, 20, 15 and 6, I think it is.
When I go to a park and like sit at a picnic table or something like that, I'll use a buddy pole. And that thing works fantastic.
Yep. I know a lot of guys.
When I'm in my car, I use that other one that Rick was talking about there from LA, and it works really good too.
Yeah.
In my car.
Yeah, that buddy pole is nice. It's very configurable. It's not cheap though. But for field day, we needed a 6 meter contact, and I got it. One of the guys has the buddy pole, and we set it up for a 6 meter dipole, and pointed it. We heard a guy in Florida, and I ended up working him, and we got 6 meters. So that was our 1 6 meter contact for field day. So yeah, like just having a rotatable dipole was really neat. So yeah, there's so many antennas out there that I still want to play with. I've barely scratched the surface, but I honestly do not have any idea how many antennas I own, which is a great problem to have.
It's like many other hobbies, is a license to spend money.
Yeah, it's not cheap, but
Scuba
it doesn't have to be
mine.
expensive. Yeah, scuba diving ain't cheap. I was licensed with it. I'm from Florida originally, so I got certified when I was 12 years old. Anybody else got any questions? I expect to hear all of you on the air soon.
I'd just like to say thank you. I enjoyed the talk.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm always happy to talk about parks on the air or just radio in general. So this disease known as ham radio has certainly afflicted me over the last 4 years. And yeah, who'd have thought? I was reading an article about, you guys remember that Oregon standoff a few years ago? I was reading an article about the guys that were doing that, were standing off. And it talked about these cheap Bofang radios that they were using to communicate. And I was like, wait a minute. I know what ham radio is. My dad's a ham. So my dad's been a ham his whole life, and there's always been a tower in his yard. My parents split up when I was real young though. So didn't see him much, but he never either introduced us to ham radio or we were just too young and could care less and showed no interest in it. But I've always known about ham radio. But then I was reading, it was like in a gun magazine or something that I was reading, and they were talking about this, and I was like, $25, shoot, I'll get that. Like, I like guns. I'm not a prepper, but I get it, you know? So for $25, get a radio and you can communicate. So I went and took the test and passed it. And yeah, now I have, I have a whole room dedicated to radio.
Any other questions by anybody?
Well, not a question, but a comment. I see that we've got 2 parks here in Benicia with the state capitol, which you guys have activated, including Field Day and also the Benicia State Recreational Area. So we don't have to go far to activate a park.
You shouldn't. There's so many out there now. Like they used to be pretty sparse. I think there was like a couple thousand for the entire country. But I think there's probably over 5,000 or 6,000 now. They just keep adding to the database.
And
So-
if you cross the river over into Contra Costa in the Alameda area, the East Bay Recreation, or they have an enormous number of parks over there.
Where in California are you guys?
25 miles northeast of San Francisco.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
simplest way.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of parks in Hawaii?
Yeah.
I have not been to Hawaii, but
Oh yeah, there's lots of parks there.
let's go.
Big Island, there's a ton of them.
Now you're talking.
You could
So-
probably make that a combo POTA soda activation.
There you
So
go.
I'm not seeing that many dots in this area. So do you have to register a park for it to show on the map?
So we can't register parks. That's all done by the POTA admins, and they're constantly working on it. But keep in mind, it's all volunteer. So you know, and that basically is exactly the question that I've gotten many times than I can remember. Especially people who were in like kind of the center, like Montana, the Dakotas, kind of the less populated, you know, like the holy crap, I need to work this state for my worked all state. And the parks that were there, the people were like, I would have to drive 3 or 4 hours just to get to one of these parks. And that was kind of one of the biggest complaints. And the POTA admin's mindset was, we don't want to add any more parks to the database until the parks that are already there have been activated. But that doesn't make any sense because, you know, for the first parks on the air activation, are you really going to want to drive 3 or 4 hours to go to the park? Probably not. So I would say be patient. And you might could email someone. I honestly don't know who. But your section manager, your K6 at parksontheair.com might be someone to contact about getting into it. I really don't know, even though I know 3 of the admins for the program. They live here locally.
Another
you
thing
might just
about
have to be
California
patient.
too is that many of the parks in California are national parks. 70% of the forest land in California is national parks or of some kind. Bureau of Land Management manages them.
Mhm.
We got Muir Woods, whole bunch of them here. California is a very park-oriented state.
Yeah, which would lead you to think that there would be many parks to activate from, but I don't know who makes the decisions on what you know. I'm just a guy that is very passionate about it and makes YouTube videos on it.
Quick question, if I may.
Yeah.
Are they specific kind of parks other than state parks? Are there regional parks or like city parks or anything like that?
So they're just state or national parks. So no city parks. I wish it was city parks. There's a city park 3 houses down from me that I would just live at and call CQ all day long. I've been on holiday since Thanksgiving, and I would have done a lot more. The weather's crappy here though, so I haven't done a single activation.
From your last comment, you said it only state and national parks. Then all the regional parks that we have in this part of the state would not
I don't
be
know
qualified.
what would constitute as a regional park.
The regional park that I'm referring to is in Contra Costa in Alameda County, which are 2 large counties south of us. And they have a lot of local parks, and these are somewhere between city parks and state parks. They're in that stratus between them.
Well, John, that was kind of my point. I'm sitting here looking at the POTA map, and I see Brannan Island State Recreational Area, but there's very little in Contra Costa County that are actually registered.
Oh,
In fact, there's only 3 or 4, not very many at all. John Muir, of course.
that's national.
Yeah, not every park is going to be on there, so don't get your hopes up for that. It's national and state parks. You know, I love working DX. I love seeing where my signal's getting and how good it's getting out. But I'm basically, hey, you're 5.9. All right, man. See you later. Thanks. 73 QRZ.
Hey, is there any specific exchange that you're supposed to use?
No, not really. Just call sign, signal report. That's about it. But all that matters for the logging is the call sign, the band, the mode, and the date. Pretty much is all that matters. They don't really care about. I mean, I log everyone as 5.9. I give real signal reports on the air, but I log everything 5.9. It just doesn't matter.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, Mike, really, thank you. It's been really
It's my privilege. Thanks
really
for inviting me out.
Really
Glad I could share it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
round of applause.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Hopefully
Thank
we'll
you.
hear you in a park somewhere in the Midwest.
I hope so. I don't get California too much, but every now and again I'll hear you guys. So
I've been trying, and I want to go the other way and get a hold of Julian. I may have to do JSA.
yeah, it's getting past my bedtime here. But thank you so much for having me out here.
Thank you, Mike.
And,
Thank you, Mike.
I hope I've
Very
inspired at least
informative.
one of you to get on the air, get out and do parks on the air. There's not
Very
a lot
good.
of California people doing parks on the air. I think the mountains block a lot of the signals, but it'd be nice to see more. So,
We'll
all right,
do it.
guys, enjoy the rest of your meeting. And
All right.
again, thanks for having me. And I'll say 73.
Okay.
All right.
Be well,
Take
be
care.
safe.
See you later.
Thank you. Keep up the videos.
Thanks.